up, Internet?
Hey there, camera!
Welcome to a video!
We're doing some more reminiscing stuff in this video like we have been doing with our series where we talk about Vietnam and Hong Kong and Thailand and Laos. But this time, we're talking about...
Romania!
When in Romania! Romania was the first time we ever filmed videos specifically with the intention of sharing them with the internet.
Yeah.
So if you go back to the beginning of this channel, you will see some somewhat clunky Romania videos.
I think another factor with that footage is the lack of stabilization on the old GoPro,
We
so
had
it really shaky.
a GoPro 3 Plus, so it had the display in the back, but it was all in that waterproof casing, so none of the sound really shows up, or you can't hear the sound at all. Well, let's start with before the trip. We were supposed to fly with WOW Airlines.
Oh, geez.
We're going on a somewhat spontaneous, not somewhat, completely spontaneous adventure.
Yeah. So rather than Ireland, we're in exotic Toronto.
Yay! We were supposed to fly to Dublin and have an overnight stay in Dublin so we could see some stuff. We had a hotel booked, and then we were supposed to fly into Romania the next day. So we were supposed to get 28 hours in Dublin. And then we got to the airport and WOW was like, no, your flight's canceled. And the next flight you can get on is 5 days from now. This Reminisce series doesn't include anything to do with Ireland because we never really saw Ireland except for about 2 or so hours we spent in the middle of the night wandering around.
We spent more time in Ireland later and have vlogs about that that you can watch in our Castles and Beer series. Click up on the flim flam.
Yeah.
Am I pointing in the right corner?
It's over there. We did make the best of it. We were able to stay at a friend's apartment overnight, and then we booked different flights to get to Ireland and then get to Romania.
We nearly died because of your friend's cat.
Shout out to Hera. Thank you for letting us stay at your place. I'm very allergic to cats, but I really love Elma. And then we got to Bucharest and I had another cat allergic reaction, which is kind of funny. We took a bus into the city center. Yeah, got to our hotel or hostel. I think I washed my face with soap that had previously like lathered a cat because my face just...
Cats love soap.
Oh my gosh.
I also have a reaction to the cats. It's, aw, look at that cat. That's my reaction.
Ooh, Bucharest the first day. We didn't spend a heck of a lot of time in Bucharest, but we did on our first day walk from our hostel all the way to the train station in order to get a train to Brasov. And along the way we saw such cool things as the potato.
Oh, yeah.
We saw a really cool old church. There's apparently a huge population of French people living in Bucharest, so there were a lot of French cafes. And then we jumped on a train. We easily booked on the next train to go to Brasov.
That's right.
We sat across facing another couple at a table for 4. And those were like booked seats.
But we got the train easily, and even though there isn't a whole lot of room for your legs, the people we sat next to were really nice. So thus far, a very positive experience.
Yeah. And then we arrived in Brasov. And we walked because we like to walk more than we like taking cabs. Cabs scare me.
Plus, like, you know, what's wrong with walking?
Yeah, you see a lot.
Save some money too, and you see cool stuff. And
so we walked all the way into Brasov to our hostel, and we were the only ones staying at that hostel. It seemed we had basically a whole apartment to ourselves. Went out that same night and explored kind of in the dark nighttime the old city center, the main town square.
Yeah. Where
you didn't successfully rent a car.
Travis did it. He went ahead and rented a Jeep. It's like his first driving experience. Look at him go. Look at him go. He's driving like a real grown-up. Oh wait, no, that's not him. He's right here. They wouldn't let him rent it. He's too old and too heavy.
But there's lots of places serving mulled wine, little stands, and there's lots of cool restaurants so you can sit outside around those like heated lamps.
And we had our first Ursus, right? That's what they say it?
Yeah. Like the Constellation, like the Bear.
Really good Romanian beer.
Ursa beers. They were 2 lei, which is worth
72 cents.
Yeah, you can't get it here in Canada.
Yeah, it was a really great experience, our first night there. The second day we were there, we took a massive day trip, right?
Rasnov.
And
Bran Castle.
First we went to Bran Castle. We jumped on a bus, not really knowing if we were on the right bus.
We were!
We were! And I followed on Maps.me until it said we were in the right place. and then we jumped off, and suddenly there was a huge castle. It was pretty cool. It was super misty that day, like rainy and misty, and it kind of made it spooky and vibey, and it was neat.
Cool.
And we really liked Bran Castle.
Yeah, Bran Castle's great.
I know it's kind of like a touristy thing, but there were hardly any tourists there, really. At the end, there was a group of school kids, but basically we got to see it.
Yeah, I
without any
didn't feel
crowds.
crowded or anything. Yeah.
And then we jumped back on the bus, and Rasnov is situated right between Brasov and Bran. So we jumped off halfway back to Brasov and saw Rasnov Citadel. And we took a little funicular up the hill and explored really cool old Citadel.
Yeah. I enjoyed this day trip to both of those places. I was filming a rap song that I had written about Game of Thrones, so I was thinking like, okay, cool. Wherever I can find medieval-looking architecture and structures and things, I can like pretend I'm in like a Game of Thronesy sort of world.
Which is kind of a good segue into Sighisoara.
True.
But first, before I get into Sighisoara, Brasov itself is amazing, and you should definitely dedicate time just seeing that city.
Yeah.
Because before we went there, we didn't know quite how much there was to see in that city itself.
Old walls and all kinds
Surrounded by old, well, you'll learn more about this when we talk about Sighisoara, but guild towers. Metal Workers Guild or the Carpenters Guild would be in charge of defending different towers. There's a tailor's tower, so I'm obligated to still defend that with my
Shout
life.
out to Kevin Taylor.
And there was also really cool, I think it was called the White Tower up in the hill. And then they also had a huge fortress up on the hill. A lot of stuff to see. So don't just pass by Brasov thinking it's a touristy thing. It's really worth the
Yeah, there's lots to see. Really cool views too. There's a lot of vantage points to like look over the city and see all the cool rooftops.
You can
and
see
stuff.
the big church from up on the hill. It's really cool. And you can go up to the Brasov sign, which we ran out of time. We didn't get to do that.
Yeah.
People do that. You can hike up.
Yeah.
Then we jumped on a train again, and we went to Sighisoara, which is a tiny little village, medieval town thing in Transylvania.
Where Vlad Tepes was born, the inspiration for Dracula.
We ate in the restaurant where apparently he was born. He wasn't born in the restaurant. He was born in the building. And that city was incredible. I'm so glad we went there.
Yeah.
We stayed in a really cool room.
Everything
building.
felt so authentically medieval and
Yeah,
castle-y.
but it looked like a movie set.
Yeah.
But it was all real. Cobbled streets and the ancient clock tower.
That's the most I've ever felt like transported to like another time sort of thing.
Yeah.
But Sighisoara,
Is just a different...
oh boy.
Yeah, everything within the old city walls, it just looks like a different era.
Yeah.
And there's a little covered stairwell that goes up the hill, and there's a church up on the hill and a school, and the stairwell's covered so that kids in the winter can climb up and go to school without having to worry about shoveling the steps or whatever. Yeah, again, there's the whole city is surrounded by city walls, and there's the guild towers again, and we explored the tailor's tower again. And
What up, Kevin?
you better be watching this, Kevin.
Send it to his inbox.
Yeah. Then we got back on the train. Oh, speaking of the train, from Brasov to Sighisoara, it was a little bit sketchier. We weren't able to choose seats, which is fine, but it was only like a 2-carriage train. So people jumped on it as it was like still moving in order to get seats, and we got on and there was no space left to sit, so we stood in the hallway. And eventually, one of the compartments, they moved their bags off a seat and they asked me if I wanted to sit with them. So I did, but then you stood in the hallway for
Hours.
almost the entire trip.
Yeah.
So then, from Sighisoara, we jumped on a train really early in the morning back all the way to Bucharest. We'd stayed up quite a while the night before drinking wine in a dungeon. Really cheap Romanian wine in a dungeon.
That was a
oh my
good time.
goodness, that was a great time.
Holly got a little silly.
Yeah, well, I sang.
Doesn't happen often.
No.
Not well, singing, sure,
I'm totally
but
not silly.
Getting silly.
Yeah, so we went back to Bucharest. But a big worry of mine was we wanted to cross the border from Romania into Bulgaria, and you can't book any trains in Romania ahead of time. But this was more of a, like, we need to get there this day. So on our way back into Bucharest, the train station, we purchased our tickets on the train that would take us to Sofia, Bulgaria. And that was really easy. There's an international booth there at the airport. We made a whole video about how to get those tickets. If you are interested, I will link that as well. Bucharest itself, though, like, it's really cool. The old city center, there's tons of, like, uncovered ruins and stuff that they're still uncovering.
Yeah.
We didn't spend a lot of time in Bucharest itself, but
it looked like there would be more to see.
Yeah, we could have spent more
I really
time
enjoyed that meal we had on the street outside there at a little table.
on our very first night.
Yeah, and I had those curly uzumaki sausages.
Yeah.
That's the official name.
If you don't know a lot about Romanian history, it has Bucharest itself has a very recent history. Of
Yeah, I was
turmoil,
surprised
so
to learn.
But it's a beautiful place. I would totally recommend it.
Yeah, you can really feel transported back in time to like medieval cool stuff.
I'd like to see some other cities and more rural places if we ever go back. Which I'd like to.
Yeah, we definitely will go back.
My favorite part was definitely Sighisoara.
Yeah, I agree. Bran Castle was amazing, and Rasnov, and again we only really saw Rasnov Citadel, but also like that was really cool.
And something we've also taken away from that trip is this is the first time I ever had polenta in my life, and now we regularly make polenta.
Yeah.
Like, it's really good. Yeah, out of like this is the first country you went to in Europe. It's interesting that Romania was the first one you went to.
Well, I mean technically Ireland, but only there for like, oh, let's walk before their flight leaves immediately.
Yeah, and I thought it was great. I'm glad that we booked it. It was the perfect place to go. I'm glad we just chose it out of nowhere, not knowing anything really about Romania. That trip will stick with me forever.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Romania?
Go.
Let us know if you've been to Romania. Things we should go back and see.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you on our next Reminisce series.
I like Romania.
You must be a Romaniac.
Yeah. Wherever I may Romania.
So take luck, camera.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Luck.
Luck.